Okay, so let's unpack this. Today we're diving into a story that's, well, it's both captivating and just deeply tragic.
Yeah.
The death of wildlife vlogger Ryan Nash,
Yeah.
attacked by his own pet cheetah, Raja.
Mm-hmm. And we've looked through the source material you shared, mostly that transcript detailing, the events of that day and everything around it.
Right. And our goal here really is to go beyond just the headlines.
Exactly. We want to try and understand Ryan's world, his work,
The animal itself.
Raja, yeah, and what actually happened in those final moments. And crucially, what are the sort of bigger lessons here about humans and wild animals?
It's just, it hits you immediately, doesn't it? This paradox.
Absolutely.
Here's a guy who built his whole life, his whole online world around this unique bond with these incredible animals,
Mm-hmm.
only for it to end like this, with the animal he seemed closest to.
How does that happen? It's the core question, really. And the sources do help us start to piece that together.
And it immediately flags that big contrast, you know?
Yeah. What people saw online, this apparently tame, loving animal
Right.
versus the reality, the wildness that's always there.
So let's start with Ryan Nash himself and this world he built. The material says he was 29, lived near Tucson, Arizona,
Mm-hmm. At Desert Wild Haven, his private sanctuary.
and this wasn't small scale.
No, not at all. He was a huge online presence, a YouTube vlogger, over 2 million subscribers.
Wow.
And his whole brand was built on these incredibly close personal interactions, especially with big cats. He gave people this amazing window into that world.
Yeah, and the sources seem pretty clear. His motivation wasn't just about clicks or fame.
Right. There seemed to be a real commitment there
Yeah.
to conservation, education.
Using his platform to raise awareness,
Yeah.
endangered species, habitat protection, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And people saw him as, well, maybe courageous for getting that close, giving that access.
And the place itself, Desert Wild Haven, it sounds quite established.
Yeah, the sources describe it as legally registered, over 50 acres, custom enclosures trying to mimic natural habitats.
Operating under permits, regulations.
Right. So on paper, it looked legitimate. Structured?
But, and this is a big but that comes up again and again in the material,
Mhm.
even with all that, the permits, Ryan's experience, his obvious passion living that close to dangerous wild animals, it always carried this huge risk.
Always. He projected confidence, definitely.
Yeah.
His videos showed control, or seemed to, but underneath, that danger was constant.
Which brings us straight to Raja, the cheetah, the animal at the center of this.
Yeah. Arguably as much of a star as Ryan himself.
So Raja was 6, a male cheetah, the sources say born in captivity, South Africa.
That's right, at a breeding center. And Ryan got him when he was just a year old.
And he became the favorite.
Absolutely, Ryan's favorite, constant companion. In so many videos, you'd see him running free or just resting calmly with Ryan.
To the viewers, that bond must have looked, I don't know, unbreakable.
Totally. But here's that critical point again, the one the sources really hammer home.
Cheetahs aren't domesticated.
Exactly. They're not like your house cat or dog. They are wild predators. Full stop. They keep those instincts.
Which can be unpredictable, dangerous.
Absolutely. They need very specialized care, controlled environments, constant watching. The material mentions Dr. Emily Carter, big cat specialist. And she really stresses this. Cheetahs can bond, sure, but they remain wild creatures with natural hunting instincts.
And she warns about sudden movements, stress.
Right. Those things can trigger aggression. She basically says keeping them as pets, even in a sanctuary like this, is just inherently risky, needs professional expertise, extreme caution.
That perspective is so important because it cuts right through the image from the videos.
Yeah.
You see those calm moments, almost affectionate, and you could forget you're looking at, one of the fastest predators on Earth.
People who work with these animals know. Behind that calm facade, there's incredible power, speed, danger.
Yet Ryan kept sharing these interactions. He kept reassuring people, his staff too, that his safety measures were the best. Everything was fine.
Yeah. He seemed confident.
But the sources also mentioned something else. From the staff.
The warning signs.
Subtle signs, yeah. In the week before, Raja seemed agitated, restless, some growling.
Things Ryan apparently put down to, like the heat, or just a mood swing. Normal stuff.
And in hindsight, those details feel heavy.
Incredibly significant, yeah. Suggests that even with an animal he knew so well, something was shifting, that wildness was maybe surfacing.
Okay, so let's go to that morning, August 12th, 2023.
The sources paint it as, a pretty normal start to the day. just after sunrise,
Ryan's getting ready for a routine feeding session with Raja.
and setting up his camera gear, planning to film it for the channel, just like usual.
And the specific time given is around 8:15 a.m.
Yeah, and that's when he reached into the enclosure with a piece of meat for Raja.
And then, chaos.
Yeah, the eyewitness account from Lisa Morgan, the sanctuary worker. It's chilling.
She heard a scream. Panic.
It's a sudden scream, yeah. Panic-stricken shouts. She runs over, sees Ryan on the ground, Raja on top of him, attacking, she said, without hesitation. The other staff reacting instantly, screaming, throwing things, banging on the walls, trying to distract the cheetah.
Called 911 immediately.
Right away. It just went from routine to absolute horror in seconds.
Emergency services got there fast.
Within minutes, yeah. Police, paramedics, animal control was called straight away to tranquilize Raja, secure the scene. Sanctuary locked down.
And when the paramedics got to Ryan, the sources are blunt about his condition.
Catastrophic injuries. Found motionless, severely battered, deep wounds everywhere, barely breathing.
One paramedic, James Holloway, is quoted describing it.
Yeah, massive bleeding and trauma consistent with multiple deep bites and scratches. Just extreme. They tried everything. Pressure, oxygen, stabilization.
The trauma was too severe.
Overwhelming, yeah. Tragically, his injuries were just too critical.
Declared dead right there at the sanctuary.
Around 8:45 a.m., the sources say. Just, half an hour after the attack started, maybe less.
Awful. The first responders, too. Officer Sarah Mendoza described it as heartbreaking. Ryan was known in the area.
Yeah. Devastating for everyone there.
And his family. His mother, Karen Nash, released a statement expressing their grief, describing Ryan as kind, caring, dedicated to animals, asking for privacy, understandably.
The immediate aftermath. The sanctuary just falling silent, closed indefinitely.
Eerie is the word the sources use. Yeah, and the investigation begins.
Tooele County Sheriff's Department took the lead.
Right. Secured the scene, collected evidence, interviewed staff, neighbors, everyone.
And the official report. It confirmed the sanctuary was licensed, legal.
It was. But the investigation did raise questions about the specific safety protocols, especially around handling during feeding.
And there's that crucial detail about the gate.
Yes. The gate Ryan used for feeding, it didn't have secondary barriers or safety locks.
Nothing that could prevent direct contact if the animal suddenly turned aggressive.
Exactly. Which connects right back to those staff reports about Raj's agitation.
The ones Ryan had seemingly dismissed, the investigation noted those reports.
They did. And they brought in experts, like Dr. Carter again. Right, to analyze potential triggers.
And she talked about, solitary predators like cheetahs. Their instincts can just flare up, feeling threatened, cornered. Even small changes in routine or health can provoke something.
And specifically about that feeding moment.
The analysis suggested Raja might have been startled. Ryan reaching in, maybe an unexpected movement while the cheetahs focused on food.
Could trigger that predatory instinct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And with no physical barrier there, the risk just skyrocketed in that instant.
The investigation also looked at the bigger picture, like the laws in Arizona.
Yeah. Arizona allows exotic animal ownership, but it's complicated. Permits, inspections, safety rules.
But critics immediately said the rules weren't tough enough.
They did. And the AZM and Fish Department said they'd review their policies after this.
And then there's the social media angle. Did the investigation touch on that?
It did, interestingly. They considered if Ryan's high-profile online presence played a role. Well, animal psychology experts suggested that the pressure, to create really engaging, maybe even boundary-pushing content for millions of followers.
Could it lead owners to take more risks, maybe without even fully realizing it?
Potentially. Unintentionally increasing the danger. It's a
Right.
complex factor they looked at.
But the final conclusion, no criminal negligence found.
No. It was officially deemed a tragic outcome. A result of the fundamental risks you take, keeping wild animals so close to humans, even with experience, even with permits.
And recommendations came out of it for better safety.
Yeah. Enhanced measures were suggested. Things like double gate entries, more supervision during feeding, mandatory emergency training for staff. Basic but crucial stuff.
Ryan's death, it obviously sent shockwaves way beyond his followers.
Oh, huge. Through the whole exotic pet world, the wildlife community sparked intense debate. Safety, animal behavior, the risks involved.
The online reaction must have been immense.
Massive. Grief, disbelief, but also debate. His followers were devastated. Social media just flooded with tributes, videos, calls for awareness, hashtags trending.
And other people in that world. Other vloggers, trainers.
They spoke out too. Sources mention Jessica Moreno, a big cat trainer, posted a really moving message called Ryan a brother, but also a reminder.
That the animals are wild.
Wild and will be respected with extreme caution. Yeah. Others echoed that, the daily dangers they face.
And it kicked off a wider ethical debate too, right?
Definitely. Widely discussed in the sources. People questioning the whole idea of keeping wild animals as pets or, for entertainment online.
Asking if that kind of content glamorizes dangerous interactions, encourages risks.
Exactly. And animal welfare groups weighed in heavily.
Pushing for stronger rules, advocating for sanctuaries over private ownership.
The Humane Wildlife Alliance statement mentioned in the sources said his death underscores the urgent need to rethink how exotic animals are kept. Prioritize safety, responsible stewardship.
Were there memorials? Ways people tried to honor him?
Yeah, online memorials, virtual tributes. And a GoFundMe was set up for his family and also for a wildlife conservation scholarship in his name, trying to carry on his passion in a way.
So his legacy, it's complicated, isn't it, as the sources suggest?
Very. On one hand, he absolutely used that huge platform for good, educating millions about conservation of endangered species, cheetahs, Africa. He raised awareness, raised funds. That's undeniable.
But on the other hand,
His story is now this incredibly powerful, unavoidable cautionary tale.
about nature's unpredictability, that thin line between passion and peril.
Exactly. Dr. Carter calls it that, a powerful cautionary tale. She stresses passion needs respect for the animal's nature, strict safety rules. Her quote is stark. Wild animals are unpredictable and the line between care and danger is razor thin.
Razor thin, wow. And his family's perspective. His sister, Nash, spoke out.
Yeah. She said Ryan loved animals, wanted to make a difference, but they hope his story warns others. Treat these animals with huge respect, never underestimate the risks involved.
And friends, advocates. They're trying to continue some of his work, but focused on safety now.
Seems so. Launching initiatives for safer wildlife interaction, education, resources. His name is now linked with dedication, yes, but also with caution.
It really forces you to think about that balance, doesn't it? Between our fascination with the wild and the absolute need for responsibility. Respect.
100%.
Right.
It's a story that hopefully pushes towards a safer approach for everyone involved, humans and animals.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, which has been pretty heavy,
Yeah.
the main takeaway seems clear. Ryan's passion was obvious, his dedication too, but his death is just this stark, undeniable warning about the power of wild animals, even ones raised in captivity, seemingly bonded.
Absolutely. It just hammers home that engaging with exotic animals, whether you're a caretaker, an enthusiast, or just watching online, it demands enormous respect. Constant caution, responsibility for safety above all else.
It really pushes you, the listener, to think carefully about how you interact with or view wildlife, to understand that difference between a captive animal and a truly domesticated one, and to always, always prioritize safety.
And maybe this is the final thought to leave you with. Based on everything we've unpacked from the sources, we saw how important Ryan's videos were to his work sharing his life. But we also heard experts suggest that the pressure for content might have played a role in the risks taken. So what does this tragedy tell you about that really complex, not tying together social media, our interactions with dangerous wildlife, and that fundamental duty to keep everyone safe?
It's a heavy question, and one that definitely sticks with you long after hearing this story.